Today is December 1st, 2025. And I feel like I'm on a downward flowing slide. And like if you're still young enough where you remember what it is like to be going down a slide, because when I was a kid, we had big slides. And you could climb them stairs all the way up to the top, and it's like at least like about 25 steps. And you get up there at least about like 25 feet, seems to me like. And then you get on that slide, and you slide down. And the way that slide is curved, it goes like this, and then like this. Okay? It tails off so that when you're going out the bottom chute, you can go straight forward and not like straight down into the ground. But when you're going up from the top, it's a drop. But you're secured by the guardrails. All right? And you're flying at the maximum rate of drop, which is the maximum rate of gravity also considered. And that is like about like something around like 30 feet per second. 30 feet per second? No. Okay, it might be that fast, I'm not really sure. But if the slide is only like 25 feet, it seemed like longer than a second to get down to the bottom. It seemed like at least like, maybe like 2 seconds. Or, there was a little bit of wait time at the top, okay? That's like the spongy kind of area. Where you're sponging in between space. Because sponges have a lot of space. And you're sponging in between the space. And pretty soon, you push yourself off. And you give that a push even on the way down, man. Vroom! And then it's like that. All the way through the chute. Okay? They call it a slide, but it's also a chute. Well, I got carried away on that thing about the slide. Forgot what I was talking about. This is a special day to me because it's like a slide. That's what it was. Because I was feeling like I'm on a slide, downhill slide, actually, and that was because Zelenskyy. I took actually a dive into actual consideration for the president of Ukraine by the last name of Zelenskyy. And I found out actually Zelenskyy has 2 Y's in it. The last four letters is Sky, S-K-Y-Y. So he's got 2 Y's. Like, you know, I don't know why you would have 2 Y's when one is sufficient. I guess it's to make you think about it longer, or something, or give an extra pronunciation about the last part of the slide at the chute coming down, bam, going straight forward. Because sometimes actually you need more straightforwardness after you get down from the chute. You have more guardrails going straight forward, so you don't go tumbling into the dirt. You know, like you need time to actually get yourself in position for the landing. And that's how you gotta do that. And look, all right. Well, I was looking at you 2 dog babies. Yeah, I know you was a baby. And you look so serious there, Bonnie, because you're a baby dog. I know you're a baby dog. I didn't want to say that. But before Sally raised her head, and she's looking at me. Sally, Sally, are you gonna be a little dog baby? Are you gonna be a little dog, baby? Dog, baby. But that's why I like Sally, because, you know, she's pretty calm. Like, she ain't gonna be getting up for just any old bullshit, you know. Yeah, she gets up with intention and purpose, and that's what I like about her. Because she raised her head and looked at me and stared at me a little bit ago. But see, now I know she's not sleeping, but she don't feel impelled to move or anything just because I'm messing around with her. Because she knows that's not what it's all about. Like, when I mess around with her, it makes me feel good. She knows that. Anyway, dogs have a deeper ride. I mean, they can get down in there with you. At the deepest levels. But this guy Zelenskyy, you know, I looked at him at a deeper level, and he's also a good dog. If you were to, like, you know, make everything like in terms of dogs, which could be a possibility, and make like a cartoon character for every kind of human being that holds political office and stuff like that, of any kind of social you know, activity of importance, like, you know, I don't know, hopefully for enhancing social change for the better. That would be enhancing social change for the better. Okay, well, anyway, Zelenskyy would be the guy. He is actually okay. The thing about Putin, I don't know if he's president or whatever he is over there, but whatever he is, ruler Putin, you know, I think it's President Putin. The equivalent of president, okay? But over there in Russia, it's a little bit different than in America, because they are socialists by socialism, political government. But that's kind of fake too, because just because you call it socialism, no, it ain't socialism. Because Putin and the oligarchs are ruling. It's always that way. It's always the rich people are the powerful people. And Putin, at one point, I heard, was the richest person in the world. Yeah. Look, I'm getting off track now. The thing is, the war is between Putin and Zelenskyy. Okay, these are the two leaders of the two countries, and Putin has got what he considers to be a version of history that indicates that he is rightfully the ruler of certain lands, going back to long time ago. So, by that understanding, okay, he operates, and his motif will be based upon that legacy. Okay? And these guys that are rulers of countries, you also have to understand that they're human beings. And as a human being, when you're the ruler of a country, you can start to think that you're like, okay, well, this is a really big deal, you know. Okay, you can actually, I believe that you can actually continue to be completely crazy and also still be the leader of a nation. Because that kind of power and stuff will so corrupt your mind into thinking all kinds of things that are crazy that you don't even understand anymore, like that you're actually coming from bubbles and scum just like everybody else in the dirt. And that you are capable of actually mistakes, and that you should in life learn to at least say you're sorry. Okay, well, now, I just have to say, all that being considered and said, that Zelenskyy, okay, what he impressed upon me, I don't know why I gave him consideration today, but today I gave him consideration. And I even realized that he's got 2 Y's in his last name. And that also makes me think about him for a little bit longer, because I wonder why in the heck does he got 2 Y's when 1 is sufficient. I was talking about my friend Jagalskie, because we always just call him Jag, because his name was Jagalskie, and we call him Jag. And he was my friend, you know. We did a lot of stuff together when I was young, very, very young. I told you about going up in his loft, and his like an attic. It was like had a window, and we could go up there, and it wasn't too hot. This is Wisconsin. You really don't get too hot in Wisconsin. And I was really happy when I didn't have to suffer in Wisconsin winters anymore. But you know, I don't know, I was making a comparison between Jagalskie and Zelenskyy, because I guess because they both end in SKY. But I think Jagalskie ended in I, not Y. And I think it was IE. But Zelenskyy ends in SKY. Y. 2 Y's. And it doesn't matter what his name is. He's just a regular person born out of the bubbles and scum. He was a comedian. He came from the dirt just like everybody else. And his original origins were from the swamp, like anybody else is. He are part of the human species. Okay? And so, that being said, everybody is vulnerable to everything. And when you get, look, there's a saying that says, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that is a fact, okay? Some people can escape it, okay? It's like going through the woods where there's a lot of treacherous traps. And some people get through the woods and some people don't. But if you do get through the woods, if you don't get through the woods, I mean, if you don't get through the woods, then, you know, your mission is kind of cut short. But if you do get through the woods, you know, you keep on going, but eventually everybody's going to die. That's the way it's going to be. And the reason for that point of acknowledgement and a person who actually is going to be a good kind of smart person is going to have to take everything into consideration, which is my understanding, because else you want to be stupid? And that's not the proper way to be stupid. It's not the proper way. And so I keep like building up to the point of Zelenskyy, like going down the slide, going through a chute. That's how I feel. But it's actually all about Zelenskyy. And the thing is, man, what I have noticed about him is, this title says Zelenskyy kills Trump's plan and strikes back. All right. And the way he did that is he sent his delegation to Miami, kind of as a surprise for some meeting. But now people are understanding that, like, there's wiretaps and stuff like that, and people are getting fed information, and so they actually know what's going on. And some people are trying to make secrets and stuff like that, and pull secret moves and everything, you know, and they got certain agendas that they're not like telling, like in America, for example, the American population. These are like not telling, what's going on is not what they're telling the American population, okay? I can guarantee you that. And it's always going to be that way. In every generation, you're probably going to have to actually realize that that's always going to be the way it's going to be. Okay? Because nobody is going to tell you exactly what their full plan is. And that is the way of Sun Tzu, okay? And that's why I say you better make Sun Tzu one of your captains, like I did okay, make Sun Tzu one of my captains, okay, because you bring him on your team because don't be stupid. And Sun Tzu and Jesus Christ and Einstein and the Buddha, all right, are all together one good team. And by Einstein, I mean the whole body of science, okay? And by the Buddha, you should probably say, you know, look, I'm not trying to like build up one exactly like person, except maybe like Jesus Christ, okay? Because only Jesus Christ actually is one who's trying to represent at least like deity, okay? Jesus Christ is like trying to represent like deity, okay? The Buddha is trying to like represent like the world, okay? Sun Tzu is trying to like represent, you know, the competition and the forces in the world that are predominant. And, okay, there's predominant forces, all right? And these forces are the ones that you have to actually look at directly like into the face unless you're going to walk through the world blind. And one of them is death. And that's why, like, I showed, you know, like that one guy saying about Ukraine, and this is synchronicity, okay? Because, you know, like, when I do my journal entries, I just do them when I feel like something hits me and then I have to, like, do it. And I can't, like, say no. Like, if I'm going to say no, then it's going to block me off, man. I'm going to go into my own darkness. It's kind of like the way I feel right now. Because I only have one little shadow of hope, and that is if this comes to you, one of my grandchildren, okay, so that you can understand a little bit better about how to see through the glass darkly and find your way through the darkness. And everybody goes through the darkness. I've been going through darkness ever since I was a little tiny as I can remember. And even when I could even walk, okay, I would remember walking down the roads in the dark, thinking like somebody was going to jump out and get me. Yeah, because, you know, I could see kind of, but I couldn't see. And that's why actually when I shut my eyes now, I can actually still see. I can. I see stuff. And it's not really that hard because when you shut your eyes, you decide how you're going to see. And that's why shutting your eyes is like a special kind of thing, you know? It's like if you learn what it means when you shut your eyes, okay? Like, what are you going to do after what are you going to do after you shut your eyes, okay? You better start thinking about, like, you know, what is going to be, what you're going to be doing when you shut your eyes. And what you're going to be seeing, what you're going to be feeling, what you're going to be thinking about. And I don't actually want to go into all that right now. But what I do want to get back to is Zelenskyy, so I can make sure I get to my point right here. And that is that every time he goes up against Trump and stuff like that, he's not like going up against Trump, okay? He's not really, I don't want to put it that way. He's not going up, but it is kind of that way, okay? Because, see, Trump is a snake in the grass. And Trump, you can't trust him. Nobody can trust Trump. Everybody knows that nobody can trust him. And they're hoping that because nobody can trust him, that he's the man that can actually, like, you know, be the ruler. If that's what you want. Some people don't want a ruler. I don't want a ruler. I don't want us to have a ruler in order to live successfully and peacefully in a win-win kind of situation. You don't want to have a ruler, somebody saying, okay, what a ruler means is always like reprimand people that are being bad. Well, evolution says that, okay, no, we're trying to maintain in the fight, you know, we're trying to be better. It's like you try to, like, when I was went to my grandma and Grandpa Robin's house, they had a line on the wall for me every time I came over there to see if I grew any bit higher. Okay. Yeah, they did it like a scientific study. Like if I got any taller, and that was like a big deal, man. Nobody else ever did that for me. They marked it right on the wall. And then I remember when they remodeled their kitchen, they were all concerned about that. It's like a big deal. Kind of touches me now, because those were my markings on the wall way back then. That was a long time ago. And it's kind of touching for me now, because actually I haven't thought about that in many, many years. But it comes back to me now because everything always goes around in a circle, and you're always going to come back to the place that you started. And you're going to see if you made the right decision at the place that you started from. Sometimes we don't even know when we take off, okay, that we're actually really taking off. We don't even find out that we're in a run, until, whatever run is. I mean, a run around the course, at least until you're already in it. No, we gotta figure it out as we go. But you find out over time, that actually that's what life is, okay? It's an unfolding, but you understand that you're like running around in a circle. And that's why when a dog chases its tail, or runs around in a circle chasing his tail, he still has fun. But you understand where it's always more than we're doing more than just chasing our tail, okay? It is fun, okay? And you got to keep it fun. And you got to know that you're always chasing your tail. That's what the good Lord gives us, the sign of the dog chasing his tail, so that we can know that that's what it's supposed to be. And that's what it is. And we are chasing our tails, and you're supposed to have fun at least while you're chasing your tail. Otherwise, why should you even have a tail? Why should you have to be tortured? No, you should make it fun. And then be like a dog, okay? And just keep, if you have to keep going around in a circle every day, understand, okay, well, that's what it is. And then you're gonna die. I don't know, I was talking about dying earlier in this message, in this annotation, or my message, because that's what I want to say. But I wanted to say about Zelenskyy, because you see, he is not like, he does not like, he will not be, okay, he's kind of like Gandhi. He will not make like a strike, like he will not like criticize like Trump to his face or pick a fight. But in a very, very fine way, of while being what Jesus said to be harmless as a dove and wise as a serpent, and harmless as a dove and wise as a serpent. Okay, and then and understanding wise as a serpent means like serpents don't like strike, like, I mean, that's what he means by wise as a serpent, because serpents, like, okay, one time I even was gathering palmetto branches for a birdhouse with a buddy of mine, and who helped us, build my mom's log cabin. And it wasn't a cabin, log house. And so I was helping him get some palmettos from the palmetto field to put on top of his birdhouse. And I chopped underneath some palmettos like you do with a machete, okay, and to gather them up, right? And I chopped over one big part, and there was a big coiled up rattlesnake, man, right there. It didn't move. It was like that, but it was all coiled up, all right? And, look, there's a lot of stories about that rattlesnake. Okay, I'll just go ahead and tell you this, because I don't even know why I got in this rattlesnake story. But I went down to pick that rattlesnake up by the back of its head, because when I was a kid, I had gardener snakes, you pick them up by the back of their head, but they don't bite you, okay? But you can still grab them by the back of their head, and that's how you can hold them and stuff like that. But you don't have to worry about them biting you, because they don't bite human beings, okay? I don't think they bite. I think they eat insects or something. They don't bite human beings. So and they ain't got big fangs. But a rattlesnake does have a big fangs. Because I used to have that rattlesnake's fangs, because my grandpa blew its head off at the neck. And then I found the fangs and I kept them. And I skinned that rattlesnake and everything, because we caught him. But the thing is, I was going to grab him up by the back of the head, because the other guy I was with had him pinned down. Okay, after I found the snake coiled up, I told the guy, I said, hey, there's a big coiled up snake over here. And he said, rattlesnake, let's catch it. And so he pinned it down with the orange picking pole, with a thing like that, down to the ground. And then I went down, I was going to grab it and hold it by the back of the head and pick it up. But it slithered away from underneath that thing and got away from underneath that little pinch like that. And so I couldn't do it. It didn't bite me then at that time, though. And so it never struck out and tried to bite. But if I would have picked it up by the head, okay, after my grandpa blew his head off, I picked the thing up by the head, all right, lifted it up, and that thing, that pure muscle, that long snake, more than 5 feet long, did a shift, and then it, I felt the power of that snake, and I realized, man, even dead, that snake just had an auto reflex, and it just went shifting like that, and that thing could have easily got me right in the neck with venom of a poisonous rattlesnake, and I would be dead. And there's no way I would have been over to get to the hospital in time. Okay. Now being out there in the palmetto field. And that rattlesnake actually was pregnant. Look, we were going to take it to the rattlesnake festival or something, but we couldn't do it. I don't know. And then I didn't know what else to do this thing. I couldn't so my grandma just came over and shot it, now today, I probably, just try to let it go again, because we put it inside of a wooden box. Anyway, I got to get off of that thing. Okay, you know why I'm probably talking about the rattlesnake? It was because the way that thing could have went up and grabbed me. And the thing about Jesus was, he said that the viper, which is a poisonous snake, okay, that can bite you. The wisdom of the viper is that it avoids confrontation. That rattlesnake never one time even I lunged out and tried to grab me. But I know that they do in the desert. People get bit by rattlesnakes. But this rattlesnake was pregnant. That's probably why it didn't. And I don't know. But the thing is, Jesus said, Be harmless as a dove and wise as a serpent. And the serpent, the wisdom of the serpent is to avoid confrontation. That's what he meant by that. I'm certain of it. Because that is the wisdom of the serpent. Wisdom of a serpent is it doesn't strike. Okay, a serpent is only known for two things, okay? Either biting or not biting. And the wisdom of a serpent is not to don't bite. No, that's what that means. Now, you got to apply those metaphors to life. And I'm just going to play this. This is actually Marco Rubio. He says something about he apologized for something. You know what? I don't even know if I listened to it. For some reason, I'm just going to play it, though. I'm going to go ahead and do that because it's 31 minutes here.
I'm pressed for time. I think we both are, but I just wanted to update you. We had another very productive session building off Geneva, building off the events of this week. As I told you earlier this morning, our goal here is to end the war, but it's more than just to end the war. We don't just want to end the war, we also want to help Ukraine be safe forever, so never again will they face another invasion, and equally importantly, we want them to enter an age of true prosperity. We want the Ukrainian people to emerge from this war, not just to rebuild their country, but to build it back in a way that will be stronger and more prosperous than it's ever been. And so this is comprehensive, what we're working on here today. It's not just about the terms that ends fighting. It's about also the terms that set up Ukraine for long-term prosperity. I thought we started laying the groundwork for that, most certainly in Geneva. I think we continue that work in our communications throughout the week. I think we built on that again today, but there's more work to be done. This is delicate, it's complicated, there are a lot of moving parts, and obviously there's another party involved here that'll have to be a part of the equation, and that'll continue later this week when Mr. Woodcock travels to Moscow, although we've also been in touch in varying degrees with the Russian side, but we have a pretty good understanding of their views as well. So much work remains, but today was again a very productive and useful session.
And then what we saw on the week.
Yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. That's Marco Rubio. And yeah, I've been watching him for a long time. You know, he's, you know, look, and that's why I say that you can't fault people too much, all right? Some people are actually just trying to actually do a job, you know? And they get caught in the pinch and they got to make compromises. And you would not, like, be so judgmental of certain people if you understood actually, like, if you walked in their shoes, all right? But the thing is, man, that's why I say humanity cannot be trusted. And you always have to consider that thing. Because, you know, people make really, really bad mistakes. They get themselves in traps. And I think it's a big trap, man. Like, under the covers, like, we got a lot of people that are trying to, like, help Russia because of financial interests. And not because of what we consider to be democracy. Because Ukraine is, okay, like, trying to, like, stand for, like, what America kind of stands for. And that is democracy. Russia ain't trying to do that. They're not even trying. They can't try. Last time they tried to try, Putin, like, killed the guy that was trying to run against him. No, that's what, when people talk about socialism, that's the bad part of socialism. That, okay, if one party gets in party, party becomes all powerful, then you don't have checks and balances no more for democracy. Then you have autocracy, and then what that is rulership of a king. And that's why what America is trying to, like, you know, well, it was at least, you know, standing for the Statue of Liberty, you know, and that's why it's standing for immigrants, actually, and with faith, you know, like, you know, like, well, I know I did one, how are we going to feed these people, you know, one journal entry, I can remember it, you know, that's important to me. And so that's why actually, my journal entries are actually kind of like I'm saying what's important. And that is very important. The importance of understanding the difference between like having actual faith, and actually true Christian faith according to the Spirit of Jesus Christ, or just using religion as a front. I don't know, front for being selfish. I mean, that's what it is. That's why we need authenticity if we're actually going to ever be happy. And that's why the message of Jesus Christ from the cross, forgive them for they don't know what they do. That's what that means, that, they don't know what, you can't really have happiness if you're not going to have, fair play in the sand play box, fair play. If you're not going to have democracy, nobody wants that one person to be in charge, but there's always people born that feel like, they want to be in charge. Okay? And then there's people born that say, hell no. That's why on my sign I'm going to put up there about the ass suckers and the little piggies. Because that seems to me to be it always comes down to the ass suckers and the little piggies. And so anyway, I'm going to stop it right there. But I'm going to just, call this one, Zelenskyy. Because actually Zelenskyy is a good guy. He's a good guy. That's it. Zelenskyy is as wise as a serpent. Okay, he don't strike. He don't strike. Okay, he actually is as wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. That is Zelenskyy. That's my opinion of him right now. Okay, Zelenskyy is striking back. That's how he's striking back. He's striking back by actually not striking. He ain't trying to strike nobody except Russia. And he ain't trying to hurt Russia's people either. Russia's killing his people, but he ain't trying to... No, he's only striking the military plants and stuff like that. Anyway, that's it. Bye.